Hello friends. This video is about the second part of the Norse gods. We will take a closer look at other gods of the old Scandinavian world. Here we go. Freya, the most beautiful goddess of the old Scandinavian world. Freya, the goddess of love and fertility, and one of Odin's consorts. Freya was the daughter of the sea god Njord. Freya rode through the sky on a great golden chariot, which was drawn by two big cats. Despite her status as the goddess of love and fertility, Freya took part with Odin in the fight against the giants of the north. The spoils of war from the fight against the giants was between the marriage couple Freya and Odin, split fairly. Part Odin got, the other part Freya. Eagle feathers were integrated into the robe of the goddess Freya. Because of this, Freya was able to turn into a bird of prey all of a sudden, and soar into the sky and fly far away. The Norse god Baldur, a god of the Aesir. Baldur was the handsomest son of Odin and the goddess Frigg. Baldur was the god of light, spring and rebirth. Baldur was also the ruler of the earth, plants and animals. The regeneration, and the fast healing, was one of the main characteristics of Baldur. His body was able to regenerate quickly and completely, even with serious injuries from a fight. One night, Odin's son Baldur had nightmares, in which he was in the near future saw his own death. Because he was the god of healing and regeneration, this nightmare was first of all himself contradictory, but still very frightening for him. When Odin found out about these nightmares, he quickly went to the underworld, the world of the dead. There he asked the goddess of the dead Hel for advice on what would happen to his son. In Norse mythology, Hel is the ruler of the underworld of the same name, also known as Helheim. Helheim's description is contradictory. On the one hand it's a desolate and gloomy place, on the other also a lively and warming one. Criminals like murderers and thieves, but even liars will be eternally cold there, suffer pain and hunger. These people experience, at times still greater torment with the dragon Nidhogger, who feeds on the flesh of the dead. Adjustments may already be playing or influences, from the Christian view of Hel play a role. The goddess of the dead Hel reveals to Odin that his son Baldur does not fall by the enemy's hand, but by the blind god Hoda. Baldur's mother, the goddess Frigg, had come up with a cunning plan to save her son. Instead of catching Baldur's future killer or hiding him from the world, the goddess Frigg visited all 9 worlds of the gods' world. Frigg required of all animals, gods, objects that dwelt in these 9 realms, the oath that these will not do to her son. But a small sprig of mistletoe could hide in a thick grass, from the eyes of the goddess Frigg. The god Loki, the god of deceit and treachery, seized this opportunity. Loki spread the rumor in all 9 worlds, that Baldur is immortal and nobody can kill him. The 9 worlds in Norse mythology are Asgard, home of the Aesir; Vanaheim, the home of the Vanir; Helheim, the underworld or world of the dead; Muspelheim, the world of the fire giants; Midgard, the world of humans; Lichtafheim, the world of light beings and demigods; Nilfheim, the world of eternal ice; Svartalfheim, the world of the black elves and dark dwarves; and Jotunheim, the world of giants. Now back to the god and his rumor, that the god Baldur is immortal. Because of this rumor, many Aesirs tried to kill Baldur, either with axe and sword or with bow and arrow. Baldur was only injured, but thanks to his powerful ability to heal and regenerate, he recovered from his wounds fairly quickly. After some time it became a sport or a trophy hunt among the Nordic gods to hunt down Baldur. The rest of the gods were bored at that time, because there was no war and the giants didn't show up for a fight either. The cunning god Loki placed a bow and arrow in the hands of the god Hodu. But instead of an arrow, Loki gave Hodu the mistletoe, which also had to swear as a plant that he does not do to Baldur, but it is precisely this mistletoe branch which escaped the eyes of the goddess Frigg. The unsuspecting god Hodu took the bow, and the branch from Loki without ifs and buts, knowing that another attempt to kill Baldur is nothing new anyway, as there are many gods tried before him. The god Hodu shot the branch at the god Baldur. The branch pierced Baldur's chest, and he fell dead on the ground. The Vikings believed that Baldur would rise from the dead after Ragnarok, and with him so, according to the belief of the Vikings, out of the sea rises a new green land. After cleansing the world of the old gods, giants and monsters, Baldur will be the new king among the gods. The Norse god Tyr. Tyr was the god of fight, battle and victory. Tyr was one of Odin's most famous sons. At ancient Norse times, the Vikings equated him with Odin. Prisoners of war from Viking raids were sacrificed to the god Tyr. It is interesting that Tyr played the role of a leader in the early stages of Norse the gods, but that leadership position was later shared between Odin and Thor. All of the legends and sagas of Tyr known to us today have been associated with the apocalyptic Fenris wolf. The size of a giant, the Fenris wolf was extremely dangerous to humans and gods alike. For this reason, the Norse gods have the Fenris wolf, with chains far away in the farthest corner of the world chained. But no chains could hold such a beast. Then the dwarves finally crafted a magic shackle Gleipnir. The Fenris wolf was deceived and distracted when the gods wanted to put the magic shackles Gleipnir on him. As a sign of trust, Tyr placed his arm in the Fenris wolf's mouth. The Fenris wolf noticed the betrayal, since the shackle did not dissolve, and Fenrir Tyr bit off the complete arm. Tyr has lived without a right arm ever since. It was more important to the other gods that the wolf was rendered harmless for the time being. This trauma of the god Tyr may be related to the degradation of his status and rank among the other gods, which is why Odin and Thor then became the leaders of the world of gods. In ancient Roman mythology, the god Mars was the god of war, exactly the same god as Tyr among the Vikings. The first mention of the god Tyr comes many centuries before the time of the Vikings in Indo-European history. The Scandinavian god Bragi. In Norse mythology, the god Bragi, god of poetry, who greets the fallen heroes in Valhalla. He is a son of Odin and belongs to the Aesir. He is married to the goddess Idun. In most sagas and legends, Bragi was portrayed as an adult man depicted with a masculine figure and a reddish beard. The god Bragi was also described and sung about with a harp in his hands. After the god Loki killed the god Baldur by his abominable cunning, the god Bragi was the first to propose to Loki from the city of the Aesir to banish Asgard. Loki called the god Bragi a liar and a hypocrite. But Bragi threatened to cut off Loki's head with an axe for such cheeky words. The words of the god Bragi had their effect, and fearing this threat, Loki took the city leave Asgard. If you look at all the sagas and legends of the Vikings, you can see that Bragi is a rather younger god. His first mention is in the early Viking period, far beyond the old mentions of Odin or Thor. Its appearance in the legends and sagas is related to the poetic art which established itself more and more in the Viking Age. The Norse god Wieland, god of blacksmithing and metal. The god Wieland was able to unite himself among the Nordic gods, in so far earn a special spot for having impenetrable armor, and forged particularly sharp axes and swords. The god Wieland was the son of a sea nymph, and a dead seafarer. In addition, Wieland was the ruler of the dwarves. Among the Vikings, the dwarves were mainly blacksmiths and jewelers. According to a saga, the Swedish Viking king Knudid kidnapped a dwarf of Wieland and put chains on him, so that he cannot run away, and forge weapons only for his army. And the god Wieland was locked up by the Swedish king on an island that was free of ice all year round. So Wieland could not escape from there. But this island had an active volcano, on which a forge for the god Wieland was built. When the sons of the Swedish king Knudid came to Wieland on the island, to pick up the best axes and swords in the whole world, the god Wieland made the king's sons a head shorter, and adorned them with gold, silver and expensive gems. He then sent these heads back to the Swedish king. In the case of the god Wieland, One can draw an analogy to the Greek god Hephaestus, the blacksmith. Just like the god Wieland, Hephaestus had a physical limitation. But the god Wieland was physically impaired by external circumstances. Hephaestus was like that from birth. In the Viking world, blacksmiths were mostly people who had a physical disability on their legs, so these works could be performed, where they could stand and not have to walk. The Scandinavian god Hermit. The god Hermit was the messenger of the Norse gods. Hermit was the only link between the world of the Aesir and the world of the dead. The god Hermit was the son of Odin and the goddess Frigg. After the death of his brother Baldur, Odin sent Hermit to the world of the dead in Helheim. As Frigg's messenger, he rides on Odin's horse Sleipnir 9 nights through the realm of the dead Helheim. The purpose was to return the murder to the dead goddess Hel to move Baldur. This incident is also known as Hermod's Helrit. The goddess Hel demanded that all things and beings be in the 9 worlds should weep for Baldur before she set him free. Even stones and plants wept for Baldur. But the efforts de Hermods remained in Vanir. The cunning god Loki disguised posed as the giantess Tok, and refused to cry, and so had Baldur stay in the world of the dead. However, he brought at least Odin's ring, which he had placed on Baldur's corpse at the funeral service. The Norse sea god Njord. The god Njord was the god of seafarers, sea seals and the leader of the Vanir. Njord was the patron saint of fishermen, and warlike seafarers or seafarers, who hunted the beasts of the sea. The god Njord was exchanged between the Vanir and the Aesir after the Vanir war against an Aesir, and from then on lived with the Aesir. In the legends and sagas of the late Viking Age he was sometimes counted among the Aesir. The god Njord is a benevolent god to humans. That means, he comes to the rescue when seafarers are in trouble. For example, when there is no wind, he sends a breeze, so that the seafarers can continue, or he sends a pleasant summer rain. According to Viking legends and sagas, Njord's wife was his own sister. In general, there were no such intra-family connections among the Aesir. For this reason, after Asgard, only the children of Njord were allowed entry, not for the god Njord himself, his son Freyr and his daughter Freya. The Scandinavian god Freyr. Freyr was the god of sunlight, warmth and summer. The god Freyr belonged to the Vanir group of gods, and is an adoptive son of the god Odin. Freyr is the brother of the goddess Freya, the goddess of fertility and love. The god Freyr is one of the key figures in Norse mythology. This means that Freyr was the 4th most important god, after the gods Odin, Thor, and Tyr, at the Vikings. The god Freyr owned a special boar. The skin of the wild boar was also a ship, in which Freyr infinitely many could seat passengers. The most famous legend about Freyr is about his love affair with the giantess Gerda. When Freyr saw Gerda for the first time in his life, Freyr immediately fell in love with the giantess Gerda. But he didn't know how he should have melted Gerda's heart of ice. This worried Freyr so much that he fell into depression and became ill. About this problem, the god of the sea, the god Njord, found out. Njord has decided to help Freyr with his dilemma. The god Njord sent his best messenger to the realm of the giants to Jotunheim. The messenger of Njord rode a white magic horse that could gallop indefinitely without a break. He also gave his messenger a magic sword. The sword could independently cut off the heads of monsters and giants without having to wield it. Despite a poor deal, the giantess Gerda was not willing to come to Asgard and meet with Freyr. The messenger Njord threatened the giantess Gerda with a curse, which robs her of her beauty. This threat worked, so that Gerda left the walls of Jotunheim and came to Asgard with them. After a few meetings, Freyr had conquered the heart of giantess Gerda, and they became a happy couple. The Norse god Heimdall. The god Heimdall was the guardian of the Norse gods. Anyway, he guarded the rainbow bridge Bifrost, leading to the city of Asgard, of the Aesir gods. The bridge Bifrost connected the city of the people Midgard with the city of the Aesir gods, Asgard. The god Heimdall belongs to the Aesir, and was one of the sons of Odin. From time to time, Heimdall had to fight with the giants, which again and again have tried to invade the realm of men. At the start of a giant attack, the god Heimdall uses a magic horn. The sound of this horn could be heard throughout the 9 worlds of the ancient Scandinavian world. Exactly this sound of this horn heralded the beginning of Ragnarok. And in Ragnarok, Heimdall fell in a duel with the god Loki. That's it for today's second part about the Norse gods. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. See you soon, your channel History Best.